Hello and welcome back to Paper Pages and Possibilities. I am here today to talk about a book that really stretches the definition of a novel. Stick around and find out what that is. Hi there and welcome back to Paper Pages and Possibilities. Today we are going to discuss the book House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. I keep wanting to say Danielewski. But Mark Danielewski, this is a very fascinating book. This is actually my second time reading it, and I don't know if I actually got all the way through it the first time I read it. It's kind of hard to tell because this book is so unusual, it's hard to tell if you are actually done with it. Hello. Katie decided to say hello. So, the overall story here is this is about a house that is somehow bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. So if you actually measure the outside walls and then measure the inside walls, the inside measures larger somehow. And so we follow the story of this house, and specifically a family that moves into this house and their experience while they're in the house. And the measurements are just the beginning. What really gets the story going is when a door suddenly appears in the hallway. And if you open that door, the other side of that door should be the outside world if you were to actually open it up, but it is some deep, mysterious darkness. And this book goes into the exploration of where that goes, what that is, trying to understand it and define it. So it's a wild ride. This is definitely a book for you if you like something that goes out of the ordinary, that doesn't follow the typical format of a story or a novel. It actually has like 3 or 4 different layers to it. We have the story at its heart, which is about the house and the family that moves into the house. But then we've got additional layers where we've got the story of the author of The House of Leaves, or the author of this story in the center. Then we've got the notes from someone who found the book from the author and their experience as they're reading the book, and also what's going on with their life during the time that they encountered the book. And then finally, we've got the fourth layer is the editors kind of going in and trying to sort some things out and make sense of things and make it cohesive. So it's a very dense book. So it this actually took me a couple of weeks to get through. I was a little surprised. Like, I would be reading for a couple hours one night, and I look back and I've only finished like 20 pages because it's just because of the layers. And I'll give you an example. The way the layers show up in here is through like footnotes. And it gets to a point where there are footnotes, and then there are footnotes of footnotes. And one thing that does at least keep it straight, so like this one right here, this is a footnote by the original author. And then if you can see over here, the font is a little bit different, and that font is from the person that finds the book. And then there's a third font from the actual publisher. So, and that's not the end of it. There's such a depth to this. I feel like I could probably reread this a couple of times and still not uncover everything that is in here. And one of the things I really like is at one point, the book starts to display the text in ways that kind of mirror what's going on in the story, in the main story of the house and the family. And I'll show you an example. So here we have the main character going down a hallway, and this is the start. And then as he goes down that hallway, the hallway narrows both in width and in height. So if you see like this right here, this is part of the text, and then it's a little bit smaller over here. And then as the height shrinks down, we start getting much shorter lines. So it's like as the space in the story is narrowing and shrinking, so is the amount of text on the page. And that's just like one example of how the text mirrors the story. It's absolutely fascinating. The other part of this that I think is where, for me, I would probably want to do a little bit more digging is not only is this story, like, this story includes in the footnotes a huge amount of scholarly work that has been done about this house and the family that went through this and dealt with this house. And the scholarly work is like its own beast in itself. You've got like sociologists commenting and geologists and psychologists all commenting on different aspects of this story and of this what happened. And it's like this whole academic field blossomed around this scenario in this book. And of course, in the end, it's all fictional. Like all of the supposed papers, academic papers that were written, they're all made up. But there's so much detail, and the notations are such that it feels real. But if you go and try and find some of these books that are referenced in quotes, you won't find them. So it is very fascinating. I would highly recommend. Like I said, if you are someone who enjoys a book that is like goes beyond the boundaries of the typical novel, stretches that definition, you would love this. It also has like it's supposed to be a horror. It's listed as a horror in terms of genre. I wouldn't consider it horror though. I feel like because of the format, you're a little too distanced from the story itself, that the horrors actually taking place don't feel that horrific to you because you're very removed from the actual happenings. Like the footnotes really take you out of the story, and the interruptions from comments from other people take you out of the story, but it creates this bigger whole that's not all that horrific. It's more strange. So, but that's my thoughts on House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. I have seen one or two people on YouTube who have read this, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this if you have encountered this book. Yeah, please leave me some comments below, like what you think about it, if you have read it, If it's something that does interest you and you do decide you are going to read it, then absolutely leave me a message in the comments or reach out to me. And I would love to just have a discussion, because I feel like we could spend hours talking about all the intricacies of this book. But that's it for today. I appreciate you tagging along this journey. And if you stuck to the end, I especially thank you and I appreciate you. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.